Are you getting up now?
Oh, you want to go back to the other side?
Bum, 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 bum. We now finally come to the end of KaiJUNE in July, and we are finishing where it all began, back with Godzilla. We are talking today about Godzilla -1, which is the latest Godzilla film, but also the earliest. This film goes back and is supposed to be a, not really remake, but you know, reboot, whatever you want to call it, retelling of the original Godzilla, except it's a little bit different. The original Godzilla took place in the 1950s. It was 10 years after they had gotten done rebuilding after the war, and the premise was, oh God, it's happening again. This is taking place 2 years after the war ended, and the premise is, we haven't rebuilt yet.
Like, the war ain't over. Like,
yeah, it's still here. Yeah, and that's something that we'll get into a little bit more later, but the original Godzilla was all a metaphor for the atomic bomb. This is just a metaphor for the war itself. And you can say specifically World War II, but it kind of applies to all wars, what they're doing in here.
pretty much.
So, yeah, the essential premise of this is that our main character, Koichi, is Koichi, right? Yes. Koichi is a kamikaze pilot in World War II. But he doesn't want to do it. I imagine a lot of kamikaze pilots probably didn't want to do it. And he's got the shakes, he's got the, it feels weird to say butterflies in his stomach, he's got the stage fright. It feels weird to say that about, you know, being a kamikaze pilot. But yeah, he's frightened of it. So he parks his plane on this little tiny island where there's a repair crew, and they're looking it over and goes, yeah, it looks fine. You swear that it wasn't working? It's like, yeah, it was making a weird sound. You guys might want to check it out again. Yeah, he just doesn't want to do this. He's trying to find, like, any reason to not have to fly back out there. And then that night, Godzilla attacks. And apparently this is a creature that has just been there on the island. It comes around every now and again. It was not caused by atomic bombs this time around. It's just existed.
Yeah. And you can tell it when he comes because, like, dead fish start floating on top of the water.
Yeah, exactly. And it attacks, and the repair team tells Koichi, okay, your plane is right over there. And Godzilla, like, you can tell, like, it's kind of young, too, because it doesn't look.
Yeah, it's nowhere near as big as you would expect.
It's not as big. It's kind of like a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Honestly, yeah, I was very much getting, like, Jurassic Park vibes.
Kind of, yeah. But also, like, it's spikier than it normally is. I kind of like that because it makes it look like it's not done forming.
Yeah.
And I dig that.
It's like when a puppy has, like, giant paws. It hasn't, like, grown into them yet.
Yeah. So they tell him, okay, listen, your plane is over there. It's right by his foot. Go over there, start firing at it. Trust me, your guns can take down anything. Just go and do it. And he goes over there, he gets in the cockpit, and then he looks at it, and he's too afraid.
Yeah,
he can't do anything.
Yeah, his hands start shaking.
Exactly. And then Godzilla attacks the repair team and kills all of them but one guy. And that one guy flat out tells him the next morning when he wakes up, this is all your fault. All of them would be alive if it was not for you. You did this. And so as all this is happening, the war is pretty much ended. And he goes home, and he arrives, and his entire hometown is just destroyed. His parents are dead, and his neighbor sees him there, and she says, what happened? Why are you here? I thought you were a kamikaze pilot. And she just goes, you chickened out. You're a coward. It's because of you that we lost. It's because of you that all this happened. All these people were dead. And apparently that was a real thing. Apparently, like, there's actually a term for it. I don't remember what it was, but apparently there was a term for it for kamikaze pilots who didn't go through with it. When they got back home from the war, everyone was like, you're the reason we lost. They were pariahs, basically. And man, you feel for this guy immediately. And I've never really watched a lot of Japanese films about the war. I've never heard of another film that did this. I'm sure that there's gotta be, but it's wild seeing a film that actually, like, confronts, like, yeah, this was a part of our history. we all turned on the people who didn't, kill themselves for this
our
war.
country, yeah.
Exactly. And we see him slowly starting to rebuild, and we see the devastation that the war has left on his town better than any other Godzilla film has ever displayed it. Again, because most Godzilla films are set like several years afterwards. This is immediately afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up meeting this woman, Noriko, and she has a baby with her. And she says, "This is not my baby. Its parents died. I just found it and nobody else was taking care of it."
She said, "Oh, the mother was dying. She was giving me her baby. It's like, promise me to take care of my child."
Right.
Yes.
You are correct. And she ends up moving in to the just dilapidated remains. Like, it is just a shelter of like tin metal that he set up because there's no houses left in this area. And she ends up moving in there with him. And we see this film takes place over the course of like 2 years. And we see as that time goes on, he starts to grow closer to her. He finds a job, and his job is going through and finding all the mines that were left over during the war and firing on them to blow them up so that way it's safe for everybody to pass again. And there's 3 other people on the ship. There's an older guy, there's a guy named Doc, and there's a younger guy who they call Kid. And the guy who plays Kid, he's like, "Oh man, you were in the war, man. I wish that I could have been that. That would have been the greatest thing." And Koichi, sorry, I'm forgetting names. And Koichi, like, he just flat out grabs him and says, "Do not ever say that. Do not. It is not something that you ever wish to see." And he is like, you can tell he's traumatized by all this. And the older guy, I think his name was Akio. I'm looking at the pictures of everybody up there, but like nobody is dressed in their 1940s attire. So it's kind of hard for me to make out who's who. But the older guy who's on there, he is just flat out like, "Man, fuck this, fuck the government, fuck that thing." Like, I love his candor in here. I love just showing all this off. And it makes this such a unique Godzilla film because we mentioned in our Gamera review, so often the government was the good guy in the Godzilla films. And I have definitely noticed between this and Shin Godzilla, there's been a shift in Godzilla films in their tone. Because I've read up on this. This is actually like a big thing that's happening in Japan over the past decade. In the early 2010s, there was that massive earthquake that just like devastated Japan.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And so many people in Japan were like, "This is horrifying, but it's okay because our government's going to take care of us, right? Because we believe in the government here in Japan." And the government was like, "Shit, we didn't actually think this would actually happen, so we've been ciphering off all the funds for this, and we never actually invested anything in all those things that we said would protect you. And there's so many things that we set up that we said we're going to withstand the force of all this, but then we cheaped out on all of it and kept all the money ourselves." And so there has been a huge shift over the past 10 years in Japan against the government. And like Shin Godzilla, I know, was made directly in response to that. But you watch this, and there's so many moments in which they're like, no, it's the people. Not the government, it's the people that are important in this. Like, this is a film that talks about the war and everything, and yeah, they talk about the devastation that Japan ensued. They talk about, like, how devastating it was for them and how terrible it was. But but like with the character Kid, they are constantly telling him, that was not something you wanted to be a part of. You should be glad you weren't part of that. Like, they do not talk about in this film, like, "Man, if only we had done this." Like, Kid is literally that guy saying that, and the film is telling him, "Shut the fuck up." Like, there's a moment in which they're making the plan to go and stop Godzilla, and they've got a bunch of people in there who were veterans of the war, and there's one guy who says, "Can you guarantee that we'll return alive?" And Doc just goes, "I can't guarantee that." And then there's this like moment of dead silence, and then one of them goes, "Well, that's better odds than we had in the war." And like, they're just admitting, like, that war fucking sucked. Yeah, and I think that's so interesting because, like I said, I have always been, when we were talking about Gamera, that was one thing that I enjoyed about that film. That was more about the people than about the government being the big heroes in there. I enjoy those films more, in which it is about the people. This is the Godzilla film that's like, no, it's all of us. Like, yeah, we have soldiers here, but we've got, like, just regular, like, you get the sense that they're not, like, the elite trained soldiers who are dedicated to saving their country. You get the sense that I am a regular-ass guy doing the best I can here, and I like that. But, like, the older guy in there's a moment in which he's talking about, and I can't remember the exact line, but he was like, this stupid country is so broken. And then he, like, there's a pause, and he just kind of, like, turns halfway to the camera and goes, I wonder if it'll ever get fixed. Like, just looking like, hey, people in the modern day, I know what's up. I know what happens to you in the future. And it's like, yeah, which I will say, that is I did not have, this is the second time I've watched this. I did not have this problem the first time that I watched this. No, a bit of a problem this time. Like, I noticed it more this time. This film takes itself very seriously, which, hey, great, wonderful. But there are a handful of times in which it's like, spotlight, please, in which they're like, we're going to pause everything as some guy turns to the camera and says a thing.
Like monologuing, basically.
Not even monologuing, because monologuing implies it goes on, but there is like a, like the first time that it happened when Koichi was like grabbing Kid and saying like, don't you ever say that. And I was like, okay, well, that's fine. That works there right there. But then Akio was like, this country is so broken. I wonder if it'll ever get fixed. It's like, okay, you kind of did again there. And then like later on, there's a moment in which Koichi is having dinner with his friends, and they're talking about like, okay, I can tell that you and Noriko kind of have a thing going on. How come you haven't, made any moves or anything? And they just like pause it and just like, because my war isn't over. Like, there's many moments in which like, those are good lines. I appreciate that. But the camera, but the directing, it's the directing that I want to criticize here. But the directing is definitely like, pause everything and hold on this to make sure the audience gets it. Like, we would have gotten that. It's fine. You might not notice it. The moment you go and watch this and start looking for it, it's like, oh, damn, that does happen a lot in here. Because I only listed off like 3 moments, but it's like, it happens a lot. But yeah, so they are defusing these bombs, and like I said, there's 4 guys on this boat. I will watch the movie just about those 4 guys. If Godzilla never appeared, I would have watched a movie about these 4 guys, like, getting over what just happened in the war, getting together, bonding. Their personalities are so good. They're great. Noriko is such a wonderful character in here. Noriko was the one that moved in with him, not his neighbor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because also talking about, like, the bonding there, his neighbor, who was like, you son of a bitch, you're the reason my kid is dead, you're the reason your parents are dead. The moment that she sees that he's now got this little baby there who's going to starve, she's coming through like, here's the few bits of rice that I have. Make sure that goes to the kid, not you guys. But then, like, we see 2 years go past, and as these years are going past, you see her start to, like, warm up to them, and then she, like, becomes friendly to them once again.
Yeah, she's like the baby's aunt at this point.
Essentially, yeah. And yeah, I think the way they do the development, even though the jump in time is quick, like, it's 2 years, but it goes by like that. Even though the jump in time is quick, I think they handle it so well. The relationship that develops between Koichi, Noriko, and their neighbor and the daughter. Maybe not so much the daughter, but because I will say, one of my few problems with this is, I never want to criticize child actors. That kid was just a prop. Like, yeah,
I mean, they didn't really give her much to do.
They didn't give her much to do, but you definitely get the sense that it feels like she doesn't even realize that she's in a movie, which, granted, she's like 3 years old or something. Yeah, I understand that. But, like, there's moments in which, like, he's carrying her and, like, he's got this incredibly emotional, like, so many emotions going on right now, this huge dramatic moment. And she's just there. Yeah.
Maybe she's just, like, too young to comprehend all the stuff going on.
Understandable, but yeah, it's like... there's moments in which, like, she's supposed to go up to the neighbor and hand her a paper, and the girl doesn't even, like, go up there and go, here, this... Like, she's just standing there, just like she's in a daze, just holding the paper out, like... And then the neighbor just has to go up there and, like, do all the acting of, like, oh, what's this? Is this for me? Yeah, and And there are moments in which she talks. The only reason I know she talks is because the subtitles popped up during that moment. I didn't hear a word she said. If you told me she didn't actually say anything, but then they dubbed in there like just a very whispered voice to make sure that nobody caught that wasn't actually coming out of her mouth, I would believe you. Like, yeah, again, I don't want to criticize child actors because they're children. They don't know, especially a very young child like this. But yeah, the daughter is very much just there. However, like I said, the relationship that develops between Koichi, Noriko, the neighbor, all the people he works with, I think it is stunning how much you buy it when it happens so fast. I think it's done great. I love the characters in this film. Anything you want to say? I don't want to just dominate the whole conversation. Yeah.
No, I mean, you pretty much said, like, the characters are great in this movie.
Yes, I'm aware I dominate these conversations way too much.
That's okay, I don't really talk that much. So.
We make a good pair. But as the movie goes along, Godzilla, as he does, appears. Mm-hmm. And it's Koichi's worst nightmares. Literally. Like I said, he is a metaphor for the war. And to really drive that home, Koichi is having PTSD flashbacks. Mm-hmm. Like, he wakes up in the middle of the night having nightmares of still being on the island. He has nightmares in which he wakes up and grabs on Noriko and just screams, "Tell me that I'm alive, tell me that I'm alive." Because he still feels like he's on that island at all times. Yeah, Godzilla is the metaphor for the horrors of war. Mm-hmm. And then he comes back to this city that is still trying to recover from how much devastation happened during the war, and he destroys even more of it. So yeah, it's not just like a metaphor for the bomb. It is a metaphor for the tide of war. Just this thing rolling out. It's horrifying. It haunts you. Yeah, it is a new take on Godzilla that still stays true to his original intent. But you see Godzilla, and this was a fully CGI Godzilla. But man, looks really good.
It does. Like, they really do capture, like, the size and the weight of Godzilla. Because, like, yeah, he's slowly stomping around, but, like, you know, he's used to swimming in the water. Like, he's not used to, like, gravity.
You get the weight.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, and I love his design because it does look like classic Godzilla, but it looks just monstrous enough. Like, Shin Godzilla was like Eldritch Horror Godzilla. It looked like something else. Yeah, it looked like Godzilla that got hit by the Super Shredder Mugen. This looks like Godzilla, but it looks pissed off and it's going to destroy you. Like, the MonsterVerse Godzilla also looks pissed off, but like in a cool way. Like, you would read a comic book about that Godzilla. This looks pissed off in a we're going to die Godzilla way. Yeah, like, it looks horrifying. I remember this film came out at almost the exact same time as the new Empire film came out. And I remember the comparison everybody was making was this film is a fine steak, New Empire is a big sloppy cheeseburger. But you know what? Both those things are great in different ways. I was like, yeah, that's 100%. And I agree with both those statements. But I definitely remember I watched New Empire first, really dug it, then went and watched this film, really dug it, but it then made me feel guilty about being happy to watch Godzilla destroy things. And a Godzilla film has never made me feel that way before. Like, this made me be like, I just cheered on the war. Oh, I feel bad about that. Ooh, man. So, yeah. What was I going to say? But, yeah. So, Godzilla reappears. And, yeah, like I said, it looks really good. There is a moment. It's always CGI, but there is a moment in which the guys on the boat in this little dinky puttering boat are trying to get away from Godzilla. And it is an amazing sequence. And you see them, like, detaching a bomb to send it into Godzilla's mouth. And they go across the screen, and then Godzilla's mouth comes in here. It looks so good. I actually wondered if that was a practical effect for that shot. Like, they made a giant fake Godzilla head and put it on the front of a boat and drove it after them.
Or, like, maybe they made, like, a miniature and, like, just used...
spliced it together.
Yeah.
Possibly, because that one shot, like, I mean, Godzilla still looks good, but he looks like CGI because CGI will almost always look like CGI.
Mm-hmm.
That one shot in particular, I was like, this looks real to me. And I think it's just because the film was selling it that much. But yeah, they establish, like, Godzilla's got his regenerative powers. They establish, like, just how incredibly devastating it is. When you see his atomic breath in here, which I think they just call it like a fire breath in here. I think they actually do lean away from the atomic stuff in this film. Like there's a few moments in there. I think they even do bring up like a Geiger counter at one point, but I believe, and this could just be the dub that we watched, but I believe that they fully lean into like fire breath, laser breath, something like that. Because I think that they really wanted to make sure that everybody understood like this is about the war, not just the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see that thing go out, it's the most horrifying atomic breath of any Godzilla ever. It is the most devastating that you've ever seen because it charges up, and when it charges up, you see all the spikes in its back shooting up like it's getting prepared, and man, oh, the tension and buildup in that. But when it fires out, just how it just devastates, like, even the stuff it doesn't hit just getting blown away.
Yeah, like even Godzilla like feels like the pushback from the effect.
Yeah.
So
it is like I said, you get the impact from it. It's so incredibly well done. And again, this film is not here to make you think Godzilla is cool.
Mm-hmm.
It is here to make you think it's literally what happens between Koichi and Kid in the beginning of this, in which Koichi was like, man, I wish I was there for that. And he grabbed him and said, don't you ever say that again. This is the film that goes, man, New Empire was a lot of fun. Shakes you, Godzilla is not fun. Godzilla is scary. You should feel bad about that. Yeah, they eventually get together and they devise a plan in order to try and take out Godzilla. We'll save a lot of that for the spoiler stuff. But again, I mentioned this earlier. This film, it is the government coming together and gathering these folks together to do this. But you don't get the sense it's the government doing that. It feels like just a bunch of guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because, oops.
Sorry, I didn't mean to kick it.
It's fine. But I think it's because in so many of the other Godzilla films with the government and the military, they were like specially trained people. They had all the information. You know, they were special pilots doing these things. This, they really drive home. It's just people. It's just normal ass people. Like, there's a moment in which they say, anybody who wants to leave, I'm not going to blame you. And, like, a dozen people get up and leave, and it's like, oh, yeah, they want to make sure you know these people are afraid. But I love that this entire film is just watching Koichi's just breaking down. It is a man having to confront the living embodiment of his PTSD. That's what it is. There is a moment in which, after we see his atomic breath for the first time, we see Koichi there just in, like, the remains of what was left, and the guttural scream that he lets out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, again, it's one of those things, it shakes you to your bone. It just makes you look at all the other Godzilla films like, I feel bad for ever enjoying those. Yeah, it makes you feel guilty. But yeah, I love that about this film. I love the way in which they just treat everybody, how serious they take it all. Like I said, there are the few moments where they have the spotlight please moment a little bit too much, and they just like, we need to make sure you know this is a very important line that we're saying, like, yeah, we get. So yeah, I wish that those moments were a little bit more natural, but they're still good moments. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not saying they're bad moments, I just wish they had been directed a little bit differently. But yeah, I love these characters, I love what they're trying to do, and this whole film, what it boils down to is, it is the story of somebody who got back from war. They went there expecting to die, but they didn't want to die, but now they feel guilty for not dying.
Like the worst case of, survivor's guilt? Yeah.
I had that same thought. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And this guy, you can tell, like, he's still lost in the fog of war forever, and he just, like, he wants to die. That is what... And he is out looking for an excuse to do that. He's looking for an excuse not to get close to people, get attached to people. And the film is about the beauty of life and why you need to keep living. Mm-hmm. That is what the movie is about. and it hits hard when it hits those notes. It's wonderful. It is so good. I will say, one small critique I do have, I do not like the final shot of the film. Because the final shot of the film feels like it's a Godzilla film, we gotta do this, and it spits in the face of the scene right before that.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. You could cut that final shot. Like, again, I don't even want to call it a scene, because it's not a scene. It's one shot.
Yeah, it feels like a post-credits scene, honestly.
Honestly, I would have had less of a problem if it was moved to post-credits. But because it is immediately after a very important line, it feels like it's spitting in the face of that very important line. If you had to do it, make it post-credits. That's what I would have said. But yeah, all right. Anything else you want to say?
I don't think so. You want to get the rating and spoilers?
We'll do the rating, then we'll do the spoilers. The rating, I am so close to an S on this. I am so close to an S. But I'm going to give it an A+, and one of the reasons why is I do critique that that very last shot. And also, I'm sorry, but the kid actor did take me out of a couple of the scenes. But that's it. That's the only thing keeping me from giving it an A+. That and the fact that, as I said, I do like Shin Godzilla more. So it's hard for me to give this an S when I know that is an S. And it's like, okay, well, I know for a fact I think this one's a little bit beneath that. So, yeah, A+.
Yeah, same here.
Okay. Our camera's about to overheat, so we're going to make the spoiler section very quick, everybody. Spoiler section.
Godzilla, go boom.
Yeah. That's the spoiler section. Bye, everybody. But no, yeah, the entire thing comes down to Koichi has to go and do another kamikaze mission. And they're telling him, you don't have to do this. And he, like you can tell, he doesn't care. He feels he needs to, especially after it looks like Noriko dies. And I will say, at the very end of this, the very last shot is they find out that Noriko did survive the giant attack that Godzilla had on the city. And she is still alive. And the very last moment of this film is Koichi does not kill himself, and he does go and find Noriko is still alive there in the hospital. And she asks, is your war over? That's a great scene. And I know some people will say, well, it's a little bit too convenient. How did she survive all that? It's a little bit too convenient she survived. I had a writing teacher who told me something that I take to heart. You should never, ever do a Deus Ex Machina unless the protagonist has suffered so much the audience just says, fuck it, just give it to him. Yeah. Just give it. I don't give a shit. I don't care if I saw her get stepped on by Godzilla and then you tell me she somehow survived that. I'd be like, good. Everybody has suffered way too much. Give it to him. So I'm fine with that. But at the end of it, Koichi does not kill himself. He goes and he gets that surviving mechanic from that island to come and work on the plane that he's going to fly into Godzilla's mouth with a bomb. And, which first off, I love that at the end, it looks like their plan to sink Godzilla isn't working because he's breaking the cranes. And then all of a sudden, Kid, who they told to leave back there, shows up.
With all these tugboats.
And like I said, that's why I'm like, this feels like it's not about the government saving the day, it's the people saving the day.
Everybody coming together and doing their part.
It's literally the guy who they're like, we're trusting the future of the country to you. The guy they trust the future of the country, I'm getting chills right now discussing it. The guy they literally trusted the future of the country to brought all the people together, to come together and save the day. That's, the symbolism is right there. Like, that's brilliant. But at the end of this, Koichi is got the mechanic to come back. And the mechanic is like, yeah, you have to, like, you owe it to all those people. And like, he is like, it's all your fault. He's still letting him know all that. But then at the very end of it, as Koichi is flying the bomb into his mouth, you see he pulled an ejection pod and he gets out and he's floating down to safety. And then it flashes back and we see that pilot goes, I gave you an ejection seat here. You have to live. And it shows that, like, yes, all those people out there who was like, well, I should have died for this cause. They're like saying, no, you need to live.
You need to live for this cause.
Exactly. It's like, don't die for your country, live for your country. And it's like, I think that for the topic that they're taking on of these people who felt this very real feeling coming back from that war, seeing the film going like, no, life is worth living. It is important to keep living. That doesn't even apply to the war. That just applies to everything in general. Anytime times are bad, this film is going to be timeless during that. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful message. Like, I know a lot of people out there are going to be like, we fought against the Japanese. They were on the bad team during World War II. It was like, yes, but that message in general of like, you have suffered something so you feel suicidal because of it, keep living. Forget the war. That applies to everything. And it's so great that we see this guy who has spent years living with that and the mechanic who has spent years living with that coming together and being like, that's their way of forgiving each other for that. I love it. It's so good. But yeah, camera's about to overheat. Anything last thing you want to say?
You mentioned the stinger.
After she says, "Is your war finally over?" and he gets like he's finally gotten over all this, and literally the last line is your war finally over?" It then cuts to the floating like heart of Godzilla in the ocean starting to grow again. He goes, bum, 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 bum. For a normal Godzilla film, that's fine. For this movie, that ain't fine. It literally spits paint in the face of that scene right there. And like, God, you are this close, movie. I don't like that. Like, if it had been a post-credits thing, it's like, fine. In fact, in a weird way, metaphorically, it works better as a post-credits scene because then it's like saying, yes, you can move on with your life, but realistically speaking, that trauma will always be there, but you can move on. You can go, you can build a life, you can find something worth living for. That trauma will still just be buried there somewhere, and that is a thing that you will have to accept, but you can move on and find something. Sorry, the camera did end up overheating because we were in the middle of a heat wave right now, so I don't know how much of what I just said got recorded, but I'll just say, yeah, if you had saved it for after the credits, it feels like that could have been the metaphor you were building with that, or you could at least claim that was the metaphor there. Going right after that scene, it feels like you're just saying, nope, credits. And it's like, yeah, I got a problem with that.
Alrighty.
But that's it.
Yep.
So yeah, we gotta go now before the camera overheats again, so I'll just say, that was it. That was KaiJUNE. We did a whole theme month, even though we went a little bit into July, but
it's
whatever.
KaiJUNE to KaiJuly.
Yes, but now we are in the dead center of summer. It's hot out. So now we're gonna start watching some summer-themed horror movies. Come back next week for I Know What You Did Last Summer, a film I have never actually watched. So we'll see how I feel about it. Bye, everybody.
Bye.